Hi everyone, and welcome to lesson 36.1. This lesson is again not coming from your books, but it is going to be attached in Google Classroom, or make sure you write down the formulas and the notes in a separate notebook. To start today, in your own words, what is a hemisphere? Well, a hemisphere is better known as half of a sphere. And our hemispheres are going to have a total surface area that is slightly less than our total surface area of our spheres. The spheres, it's going to actually be 4 times the area, so 4 pi r squared. Total surface area for a hemisphere is half of that, but plus 1 base. And we'll talk more about that later. The lateral area then, there is not a lateral area for a full sphere, but there is a lateral area for a hemisphere that's going to be 2 pi r squared. And we'll talk about at the end again why the total surface area then is 3 pi r squareds. So some practice problems with these for your total surface area. If you are looking for the surface area of a sphere, again, it is 4 times pi times your radius squared. Reminder to make sure that you use the pi button in your calculator. So 4 times pi times our radius of 4 squared, we get a total of about 201.06 on this one. So 201.1 centimeters squared on that. Now on the next one, it is a little difficult to type in a fraction, a mixed number into your calculators. So if you have 4 and 3/4, well, 3/4 is better known as 0.75. So we have 4.75 is the value of our radius on this one since we had 4 whole ones. So 4.75 is the value of our radius on this one. So when we plug in for the total surface area of our basketball, which is a sphere, we would have 4 times pi times our radius squared. So 4 times pi times that radius value of 4.75 squared. We get a total of 283.53 square inches. Now remember, when you are painting something on the surface and touching a surface, that is your surface area. So in the next example, if our diameter is 16, we need to remember to cut that in half first to get our radius and the total surface area, the area we are painting on that sphere. 4 times pi times the radius squared is going to be about 804.2 square centimeters. Now, our next example deals with a hemisphere. Now, if we want the hemisphere with a diameter of 3, again, similar to what we did above, we're going to need to find the radius first, which is going to be half of that, so 1.5. And then remember, the surface area of a hemisphere is only 3 pi r squared. So 3 times pi times our radius squared, which is going to be 9. So we end up with about 84.8, radius squared. Don't make that mistake, not the diameter. We want the radius, so 1.5 squared. There we go. So see the difference, we have about 21.2. Oops. Can change this, 1.5. So again, 21.2 square inches. And then last but not least, if you have this hemisphere here, try this on your own. You should have on this one 3 times pi times that radius of 17 squared, which is about 2,723.8. Now, kind of going back to what we talked about in the beginning, on the last page here, we have talking about our surface area of a hemisphere being 3 pi r squared versus 2 pi r squared. Well, hemisphere is going to be in vocabulary-wise half of a sphere. So why isn't half of 4 pi r squared? Well, we have to take into account still that circular base. So we not only have this curved area that we have to consider, so that half of 4 pi r squared which is 2 pi r squared. We also have to add to it, though, that area of that circular base, which is another circle, pi r squared. So that's where our final of 3 pi r squared comes from versus just 2 pi r squared, our lateral area plus the base, right? So that's where the 3 pi r squared comes from. So if we're looking to write this kind of in word format, we need to cover the circular base of the sphere. So it is half the surface area of a sphere at 4 pi r squared divided by 2. But add pi r squared. That's where this is all coming from. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll work more with this practice in class.